Welcome to CPG Vibes. No script, just chat. We talk all things food and beverage and so much more. Feel our vibe and search for CPG Vibes on Apple Podcast or Spotify, and make sure to give us a 5-star review. If you'd like to sponsor our show with your product or service or be a guest, email us at cpgvibes100@gmail.com. Now your hosts, me, Alex Bear with Genius Juice, and Wade Yeti. All right, welcome to episode 88 of CPG Vibes. As you can probably notice, Wade is not to my right, like he normally is. So we're doing a little bit of tap dancing today. Long story short, Wade was on an aircraft, and that aircraft got delayed, which is known to happen. He was delayed by over an hour. So as we're talking, he is literally flying. I would love for him to tune in via Wi-Fi on the airplane, but it might be a little bit choppy. You never know. Might be some turbulence, pun intended. So he may join us at the very end of the episode, but literally it's basically just going to be, my man, Jake. He's going to basically fill in as the co-host, and we're going to have some banter back and forth, talk about CPG, talk about whatever. And it's really a no script, just chat type of atmosphere, as always, especially today. So before bringing Jake on, and we're going to shout out also these comments over here, make sure to give us 5 stars on Apple Podcast. So go to your phone, hit Apple Podcast, give us 5 stars, and that would be greatly, greatly appreciated. Also, if you'd like to be a sponsor on our show, and I'll write this in. Again, usually Wade's doing this. I'm going to be multitasking a ton here, but make sure to email cpgvibes100@gmail.com. And you can become a sponsor on our show. It's $350 introductory rate. Get a lot of people on here live, a lot of people that listen on Apple Podcasts. We're rated as one of the top CPG podcasts on LinkedIn. So make sure to email us. If you'd like to be a guest, we're filled up for the next 4 months. But if you'd like to be a guest next year, also email us. All right, without further ado, I'm just going to bring him on. I'm not even going to have any intro music because this guy has his own theme music, and I don't want to overshadow that. So here we have Jake Karls. He is the co-founder of the very popular, fast-growing brand Midday Squares, and he's also the Rainmaker. Jake, how you doing, buddy?
Alex, love it. Love being on this podcast. Obviously, you're going to miss Wade because he's an absolute beauty, and I love him as well. But you and I are going to get dirty and have fun with it. And I like the room you're doing it. The green in your room, I know it's funny. I just noticed it before. It's just, it's vibrant, it's light, it's positive, and it fires me up. So I'm happy to be here. And no script. I love that we're doing no script. I love that we're just chatting because you and I, when we get together, we do this and it flows so well. And there's so much magic that we talk about. So I'm happy to get started.
Absolutely, brother. Yeah, it's really good to have you on. I think this is your third time on. So you're doing the hat trick, the Canadian, right? The hat trick thing. So, and then coincidentally, we're both dressed in black. I mean, I know Midday Squares, it's the black with the white writing, but I just subconsciously put on the BevNet shirt, the black with the white lettering, and then the Hue hat, the black with the white lettering. So we're going full charge here, man, on your branding on this episode. So there you go. You got the Forbes shirt on, the sweater. So cool.
Yeah. I always tell people I wear people's items, brands items that I genuinely like. And I think it's important to do that for any company, whether small or big. Forbes is obviously a big company, but they've done a lot for me. And I think it's important to rep people you care about and always offer that support. I think we as a society need to do more of that together. And I see you're doing it too. You're wearing the Hue Chocolate's a great brand, and BevNet's also a superstar brand. So it kind of fires me up that we're both doing that indirectly. If I had a Genius hat, I would wear the Genius hat over the Midday Square one today, but you'll get it nice. For the first time I come on.
For sure. And you know what just hit me, because I just rushed home and I'm like, I'm going to put a black hat on, just to be on theme. And I'm just realizing, and it's okay. Hue is a chocolate brand, right? But I put Midday Squares in really this category where it's fun to buy it. Like, I don't know, there's something like when I go in, it's like a treat. And so I buy it at the Target in Torrance, my local Target here. It's been there forever. And I go in, normally all three are on the shelf unless Target has some merchandising problems, which is known to happen. But typically at least two's on the shelf. The fudge and the peanut butter. The almond crunch is missing here and there. But I always, it's on sale, 2 for $5. I buy it. I've been eating it. And I don't just say this because you're right in front of me on the show, but I'm literally eating it probably about 4 times a week. I'm in the field. I'm doing sales. I go into a Target. I go into Sprouts or whatever, and it's very hard to find something like filling, delicious, low sugar, and like really healthy. So it just hits the spot, dude. It hits the fucking spot. And
Yes, I love it.
yeah, and like, and you know, and I can have like 2, 3 of them, but all I really need is one, to be honest. And it's deceiving. All you really need is one, and then I'm like filled up for at least about 2 hours. So it's surprisingly very dense, the chocolate bars. So tell us, man, what's going on in your world? It looks like, are you traveling right now? Are you in a hotel?
Yeah, I'm in a hotel. I'm in a hotel. It's gorgeous. You see the background? It looks stunning. It looks
I like the little lighting on the
but the
top. It's
problem
cool.
the problem is it looks hotel-esque. Like, it's not homey like where you are.
Yeah.
Alex, first of all, I appreciate, you bringing up your support for Midday Squares, because you've been supporting us for a long time. This is even before the podcast and all that stuff.
Mhm.
You always message me about it, and used to go to Sprouts, I think, to get it. Now you go to Target. But I genuinely, what I love about you as a human, and I'm saying this again, not because you're here like you just told me, but you've always been that guy that doesn't just support for the sake of supporting or say something for the sake of saying it. You've been that genuine person that says it how it is, real, good or bad. You say it to the person or to the brand or to the individual or the company. And I have the utmost respect for you for that, because I think a
Thank
lot
you.
of the time we're missing that, we're missing that authenticity, whether that's marketing or, doing business or having friendships. And I found that for the last couple of years I've known you, you've been gunning that down in a positive way, and people see it. So I just hope you know that. And I'm grateful to be here, chatting with you. I appreciate you giving me a voice.
Absolutely, brother. Yeah, I mean, I'd rather be, you know, especially when you're a founder, right? When someone's like really brutally honest with you, the first reaction sometimes is like defensiveness. Like I get a little bit defensive. I'm like, wait a minute, like, are you criticizing me? I almost take it personally sometimes. But I've realized, looking back at the advisors I've had, the mentors, is when they were brutally honest with me, that's when I really learned a lot about myself and truly how to improve, whether it's the brand or whether it's myself. And like, there's been times where in the moment I'm like, "Dang, you're wrong," like you don't know me, and they make all the, they give me feedback. I have that kind of that defensiveness. And then like maybe 6 months later, I'm like, shit, they were right, because this keeps coming up. And one of the things that, comes up is exactly that, is being open to criticism and feedback. Because like ultimately, like you're an owner, a co-owner, I'm an owner. It matters what we think, but it really matters what the customer thinks, and all the feedback and the advisors around you. And it's good to be open to that, but at the same time, you're still the founder, the co-founder, and the leader of the brand. So you got to like filter in what makes sense and filter out what doesn't make sense. But one thing that hit me, like I remember as an example, when you guys came out from the big bar to the small bar, right? The 2 squares to the 1 square, which happened, I think, about a year and a half ago, maybe. I thought initially, I thought it was a bad move initially, right? I thought, I'm like, man, I loved how big the bar was. It was incredibly filling. I could have one chocolate now, one chocolate later, that kind of thing. And I would always like eat one of them in the old packaging and then fold it over, right? And close it, and then have the other one like in my car for later. And so, yeah, so like as you rolled out the single square, right? And then you rolled out the cookie dough, which was fucking genius, by the way. Love that flavor, my favorite flavor. I realized why you went to the single square. And there was a big method behind it, which you can get more into. But I feel it's just affordable. And that 1 square is so dense that it gives you what you need. So overall, it was the right move. But initially, I thought it was the wrong move. And I might have even texted you that or something.
Yeah,
But
I think you
yeah.
did. I think you did. And you know what? Alex, it's important you bring this up. We did a UPC code change. We shrunk our square from 2 squares in a pack to 1 square. We raised prices by 27 points at the time, and we did it for sake of survival purposes. And we studied the model that we had to do to scale this business. And when we did it, we were so nervous, because it was a massive change at once. Like, it was a massive change, and I'll never forget the first 2 months. We thought it would be like, hey, 2 months of hell. We get back on our pocket. People will start firing it up again, enjoy the squares. They'll love the brand. And it ended up taking 8 months, 8 months of literally hell to transition from this UPC code change or this square change. And now it's made sense. But if we didn't have the cash or the ability to stay in business for that long, we would have been shut by now. Midday Squares would not be here, even though the decision was right. We luckily had a year's worth of time to make that decision, but a lot of brands don't have that ability, and they make these decisions, which are the correct decisions, but the time is not enough that they end up busting. The business busts, and it's too bad, because that company had the potential. The product could have carried its way, but it takes time for consumers to get their head around change. It takes time for investors to get around change. It takes time for teammates to get their head around change.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where if we could be a little bit more patient as consumers for a brand, as investors to a brand, as a fan of a brand, running a brand, then you have a better chance of winning. But the problem is that we're so rushed for everything, and then we just make fast decisions that aren't necessarily the decisions we want to even make. So I advise anyone that's listening to this podcast that's a CPG owner, be careful when you do your UPC code change, but make sure you have a year's worth of time to make that mistake or that change or that great decision, because it needs to see it through. You need to see it full through. You can't just make decisions, because we dropped sales by $1 million 1 month after launching that. $1 million it went down in 1 month.
Was that because of just being out of stock and switching it over, or from consumers being surprised on the change?
3 things. So consumers being surprised, and similar to what you were talking about, going from 2 to 1 square, they were upset. Second reason was our barcode, which is a huge no-no, was too small to even scan in store. So retailers were unable to scan it. So think about it. You had millions of dollars of merchandise that went on the shelf that were not registering as Midday Square sales. So when it went to the cash, the consumer who was excited to try it would go out there, and then they would be like, oh, it's not scanning. So the cashier would either type it as a grocery item, which doesn't count towards Midday Squares as stock, or they would have to type in each number on the barcode, which is so painful that it ended up being a very bad experience for the consumer and the cashier. So it was a negative and a negative from a team member on the ground at the retailer to the consumer that was actually going to the store. So we ended up getting a ton of bad vibes from it. Then we had to pull the product. Well, we didn't pull it off. We basically got it changed. We had our consumers who are our fans in our community. And it comes back to building a community is everything in this world. They helped us. They helped solve this problem. And it took about 3 to 4 months to fix that specifically. But once it was done, we apologized. We're just like, we made a mistake. We fucked up. Like, we were honest. We were transparent. We were vulnerable. We made a decision quickly without even thinking about that barcode thing. And that probably damaged it at least a couple extra more months than necessary.
Yeah. And needless to say, this is I think CPG is a business where mistakes are going to happen. It's just how quickly do you pivot from that mistake? How do you handle that mistake or own up to it, and also communicate to the consumers, communicate to the retailers, to, like, it's basically damage control. Like, a lot of this business is damage control, because shit's going to go wrong, even if you do everything right. Like, and that's the part about this business that's really difficult is I could be staring. I mean, when we came out with our shots, right? I had 4 people, I think like 5 people, I think you know where I'm going with this, look at the packaging. Okay. Like the flat lay, the label, the caddy. Like I sent it out to our board, my partners, a couple investors. I'm like, please check everything, every word, every sentence, the spacing, the periods. And 5 people. And once we got the caddy printed out, and then I got the caddy, I turned it to the bottom, and there was a misspelling. Now, is that a serious thing? Not really, because most people don't really look at the caddy. They look at the bottle, or in your case, the bar. But it goes to show you that no matter how much you prepare, things are going to go wrong in this business, and it's how you handle that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think the game of entrepreneurship, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you don't feel this way, is who can withstand the most amount of pressure? And the reason why I say that is the ups and downs are wild. It's absolutely crazy. The feelings of feeling at top of the world one day and then feeling very lonely and depressed another day is common in a lot of entrepreneurs. And if you can hold out and deal with that pressure for quite a long time, then you will be rewarded with whatever that means, whether that's financial or impact, whatever you're trying to do. That's the game. So for us, it's been 5 years of doing midday squares, and we've eaten a lot of dog poo along the way. But we've also experienced the most exhilarating and free moments of possibly my lifetime, and that's what keeps me going. To keep going even through these hard moments. When we did that UPC code change, or when you had that misspelling, it's hard. But at the end of the day, what would life be, or what would this journey be if there was no pain points, or there was no difficulties, or no adversities? It would kind of be boring, even if you were winning 24/7. It wouldn't be what you love about it today. So I think there's this beauty art of the pain and the pressure, but I don't know. I wouldn't have it the other way. I wouldn't have it just as a linear line that pops straight up.
Yeah, I mean that's like one in 1,000 brands that where it's like that linear path where you go from, oh, I'm just going to launch this and everything's beautiful and everyone buys the product and there's no production issues, no packaging issues. And being in Genius Juice now in the business for 10 years, and you've heard the stories, and I've told a lot of people on here the stories about how we've had to start, stop again. We've switched to 4 different co-packers over 5 years. I mean, that's just hell. We had spoilage issues early on where we would literally make the product, process it, send it to the store, and the very first bottle off the pallet explodes when you open it. So like it's hard, and especially when you make a high quality product, right? Like you're not making Hershey's, right?
No.
You're making a very high quality chocolate bar that is sensitive to heat. If it's not made correctly, people are going to be able to tell. And then people are also spending $2.50 on your bar on average, or $2.99 versus 50 cents, on another chocolate bar. So they're going to demand consistency and quality. And so like it's kind of a double-edged sword, because like we want to be different, we want to have a great quality product, but it's so hard on the supply chain to come out with that product and make sure that the quality stays the same. But it has the so the fact that you have your own manufacturing, right, which just most people know, but for those that don't, now you do. How has the quality and consistency been in like the last year? I'm sure you guys have made some strides there, right?
Yeah. So when we started, for those who don't know, we were making the midday square, our brownie batter in our condo kitchen. The three of us, my sister, my brother-in-law, and I, we would hand make these. They were delicious. They were these unbelievable things. They were not perfect. There was every single square was different, to be honest with you. But we tried. We tried our best. We tried hard. And people loved it. They loved the hustle. They loved the care that we put into it. Like you said, the quality, the passion. People see it. They see it at the retailer. They see it how you treat them on customer experience. They see it when they bite into your product, especially they're not biting into a Hershey bar or a high sugared palm oil product. They're buying into an item that they actually feel good when they eat. Anyways, as we had to scale this, we went to 26 different co-manufacturers across North America, the best bar manufacturers, chocolate bar manufacturers, and protein bar manufacturers. And not one of them was actually able to replicate the way that we wanted to make our squares.
Which is crazy. That's crazy.
But their machine, and I get why, the machines weren't able to process the chocolate the way we wanted to. They weren't used to the amount of cocoa butter we were using. They were used to palm oil. And they didn't want to go build out a new facility for us, because why would they? We're 3 people that weren't in food before. We were young guns that were just going out there with a dream and a good product, but there was no potential that this company would even grow past $100,000 in sales, right? And so everyone told us, you either change the product like everybody else's and robe the chocolate, 1 millimeter thick chocolate, you could fill it if you want, do the whole 9 yards, the standard protein bar, or you go figure out how to build your facility, but you don't have that capital. That capital could take a couple $1,000,000. And my sister, being as crazy as she is, she's like, fuck it. Excuse my language. She's like, screw it. She's like, we are going to figure out how to build this and scale this ourselves. Now, what did that lead to? This is the key question. As we started to scale, so it's been now 4 years since we started the scaling journey of building automation. We've now moved from 80 bars per day to being able to do up to 90,000 bars per day. While the consistency is the same most of the time, every time, in terms of weight, the quality, the issues, that things, not foreign things in the items. We check everything. We have major machine operations that can check the quality and safety. And then last, most important, is our margin. Went from negative 14% gross margin when we started to today being about 56%. And we have a chance of getting this to 65, 67%. That is the benefit of the manufacturing yourself. Now, the downfall, Alex, is it could burn you out. It is extremely difficult. And when you have a problem, you have to deal with it on the spot. It is your responsibility. It's not no one else's responsibility. It's your responsibility. And you also need CapEx. We were lucky to have our government, our local governments, or our provincial, which is the state government in the United States, debt finance our facility for infrastructure and job creation. They did that at a very inexpensive loan. If we didn't have that, Midday Squares would not be here today. And I think that that's super important, is to always ask your local programs or your governmental programs to see if they could fund certain things. Typically, they love infrastructure, job creation, and manufacturing. And that's what saved us. And to date, I think that as we grow, you're going to see, as we get better and better and even more efficient, the quality will always be the same, the consistency, the flavor profile. And we're not perfect. It's not 100% right now, but it's better than it was, year one, which is maybe 50%. We're all probably up to 85.
Exactly. And most people, I mean, I have not noticed a major quality difference in the last year since he switched over to the single square. I mean, every time I opened whatever, the peanut butter is my, my go-to, or the cookie dough. Those are my two. The fudge one is it's very rich, so I can't have it all the time. Like, I have it maybe like once a week or something, but the other ones are the go-to, and the quality has always been there in the last year or so. Especially, it's always been there, but it's been more consistent now. Yeah. So I wanted to ask you one thing just about really the long-term mission, right? The long-term game for Midday Squares, and whatever you're able to share on, on a public podcast. But you've posted a lot about, let's take on the big chocolate giants, right? Eventually, we'd like to be right next to them, or we'd like to be up there in that type of growth. So, given that they're shelf stable, right? They can get to many more areas of the store than you can being refrigerated, at least right now, depending on the store, right? Or maybe a convenience store or 7-Eleven. What is the long game here to scale it to the height that you want to get it to?
So that's a great question. So the vision at the beginning of Midday Squares was to be a new Hershey's, to be a new Mondelez, in the sense of what would they look like if they start today and how would they build? That's what we're trying to build. So create better for you chocolate bars that are functional, but also a brand that means something to people, a brand that people think is relevant, that they care about, that makes them feel something. I think that marketing is an extremely important part into a journey, storytelling, and I talk about it all the time. It's how you make people feel. So if you have a great product, which you should, if you're starting a business, product market fit should be your number one thing. But your secondary thing has to be a great story, because today you're in a world of an attention economy where you don't stand a chance if you don't grab the attention of the consumer. You could have the best product in the world, but you don't stand a chance. So that's the two things that we wanted to create, was a better for you chocolate bar that had a great story that meant something to people, and a brand that meant something to people. Now, as we're going through this journey, we really want to stand next to one of those major conglomerates. We truly, in our hearts, believe it's possible. That being said, it's an exhausting journey. And we talked about this at the beginning of this podcast, was pressure is high. The exhaustion kicks in. Entrepreneurship is extremely hard. And if you could stay in the pocket the long time, if you could stay in it, then you could make it. The problem is a lot of people get exhausted. They burn out. They can't do it anymore. They're not motivated. So for us right now, we are motivated, and we are gunning for that. We are gunning to be that chocolate nut company. That might mean we might one day get out of the refrigerator set and do something in the shelf space. You never know. We might acquire a brand in the chocolate space. But what I could assure you is our heads are focused, eyes are closed, simply to get to 150 million in revenue and see what the options are. At a 65 gross margin with the manufacturing capacity to grow more, that's where we want to go. And everything we're focused on the next 2 to 3 years is simply just that. And heads down, noise is out. And I think that's super important to re-explore the conversation then. Do we keep going? Do we acquire businesses? Do we IPO here in Canada? Do we sell our company? Do we buy a company? We don't know. But what we do know is the moment we stop having fun, and the moment we stop enjoying the joy of what built Midday Squares, is the moment the three of us stop this journey and hand the keys into somebody else. Because what's the point, Alex, if you're going out there every single day grinding at something you don't care about? or something that means nothing really left to you or doesn't have any meaning to you anymore, it's time to move on. Even if you're making a boatload of money, it's not about that, because CPG, for me at least, and I believe for yourself, is a lot more than just the capital gains that we're going to have or go through during this time. I think it's you get to make an impact in the space that you're doing and to the people you get to serve. And that's something that we're focused on right now. So horse blinders on, that's the vision. And I know it sounds, there's a lot of different pieces there, but that's
Right.
what we're focused on.
Yeah, I would say it's really well said for the fact that you fit it. You put all that into like a 2-minute dialogue, or monologue. So I think there's a better idea now. And yeah, you're definitely right on just two things I want to say. You got to love what you do. Like if you don't love what you're doing, like do something else, and like don't wait to like change that. Like make a change really, really quickly. And so, for me, right, and I've been open about this, is like I love Genius Juice, love the brand. We've had to scale down, right? We're doing the shots now, and we're really not focusing as much on the smoothies. But I also had a calling to help people, right? With my brutally honest opinion sometimes. And I got to be careful, like sometimes, depends on the founder. I can be honest, but without being scathing, right? And that's a really good combination where you come through in a caring way, where you really are endearing and want to help and you're warm, but also you bring down that hammer. And I call it the velvet hammer, right? You still bring it down, but you're not going to like crack a skull, right? You're going to wake someone up to get on the right path and guide them to success. So part of my calling has been just helping people. And I initially did it for free, right? I just would hop on the phone with people and have a 30-minute call. And then I started running out of time because a lot of people needed my help. And so when you start running out of time, you start billing for your time, right? So I started doing that. So I think I'm closer to my calling than I've been in the last 10 years, where I still love to sell. That's really my main thing. Like I can operate a company, and I've done it. I'm not the best at it, to be honest. I'd probably hand it over to someone else if I created a future company, but I love to sell. I love to talk with people when I'm out there selling. I go to a lot of stores, a lot of coffee shops with my new shots, with the Genius shots, and also helping people. And then lately helping people raise money, as you've seen on crowdfunding, because that to me is a higher calling, because now I'm helping people survive, and I'm helping people stay in business and get capital that they need, because maybe they got to build a plant like what you did, right? And they can never reach that goal to see the true success and potential of the company unless they have enough capital. And it's mechanical and art at the same time. Like it's mechanical where you just need the money, but the art is how do you use that money and how do you grow your business? So I think I've felt in the last 6 months better than the last 9.5, 10 years of running Genius Juice, because I've just locked into what I love to do, and I continue to do it. And if I get tired of it in 4 years, and I'll go to something else. So I want to do. I know there's a lot here. One thing I wanted to mention, which I didn't really give full credit to the last time you were on the show. I know you have to jet in about 8 minutes here. You have a 6:10 stop time. Is how many brands can you really think of, right? And I'm asking the audience, where you launch in a major retailer, right? And the product organically moves without like heavy demos or heavy promotions. You have your promotions at Midday Squares, the 2 for $5 and things like that, like alternating months. But I've been continually impressed. And I remember when Nick posted the stats on Target, the movement, I'm just like, I couldn't even believe it. And I say this because it's very rare that a product can move almost on its own. And you've talked about this, the social media and other things, but like, share with us, like, are there any other tips or anything that really caused this to happen, where people would walk into a store, you launch in 400 stores, and you build that volume in a lot of these stores, right? And instead of struggling in many stores, which many brands do when you launch nationally and with a retailer.
Well, I appreciate you. First of all, I think number one is you must build a strong relationship with your category manager, your buyers of the company that you're going to be working with. because that allows you to get data. It allows you to ask questions. It allows you to build a trust that is going to be super important when you do launch the product or if you have a problem. So when we launched with Target, and Target's been a great partner of ours, yeah, that's a mass retailer. We went into 1,700 stores. That's a lot for a
It's a
Canadian brand.
lot.
Yeah, and we're a Canadian brand that came there and, somewhat new. And the second thing was merchandising. And if you're not merchandised properly within your set, you're in a danger zone. At the beginning, we had some problems, but over time, now we've learned to get. I know you're not getting the almond crunch there, but it should be stacked. And if it's stacked, you're seeing the visibility is like a billboard. So that's super important for people that don't even know your brand. They need to be able to see it. For the people that know your brand, that's fine. They're already going to find your product. They're going to look for it. They know where it is. The third thing is you need product market fit. I said it at the beginning of this podcast. If your product's not fuck yeah or amazing, and I'm confident ours is amazing. I've only tried one of them because I'm allergic to three of them, but three of the
That's
four.
a story in and of itself, right
Yeah,
there.
that's a story in itself. But product market fit will get people to come back even after the marketing, after the demoing, after this, all the tactics you use. They'll come back because they like the product. It's part of their lifestyle. And then the fourth I say is story, 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 story. Today, everyone sits on their phones at one point in the day where they're looking for entertainment. They're looking for something. They're looking to give their attention to a company, a brand, or an individual. So you have an option. You have an opportunity for free a lot of the time to grab that person's attention. All you need to do is tell them something that makes them feel something. And what I mean by that is don't just tell them, hey, I got a midday square chocolate bar that's the best tasting chocolate bar. That's not fun for them. That doesn't relate to their lifestyle. But if I talk about a moment of hardship that we're going through in a company, or I show you how much improvement it's done for an individual in his life that lost weight with the bar, let's call it, then there's relatability and there's storytelling that's connecting in the brain. So if you put those four things together, relationships, merchandising, product market fit, and storytelling, I can promise you that's your best chance, and price architecture, your best chance at winning at mass retail. That being said, there's no guarantee.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think there's so many variables in that, and I think the key thing is, Jake, you and Les and Nick, you just pulled the levers, right? You pulled all these levers and be like, okay, one of these or multiple levers are gonna fucking work.
Yeah.
Whether it's social media, whether it's the stacking, whether it's the colors, and another thing that hit me, dude, when I had it is, I as a kid had a lot of chocolate, a lot of terrible, like, the Hershey Kisses and all the stuff that we as kids, we ate. And the other thing that hit me, that even though I'm a skinny dude, I'm not really watching my calories. I don't want to be overdosing on too much chocolate. So I want to get what I need from it, the functionality and the energy. But then, I could easily, if there was three squares in one pack, I might do three, just so having the one also limits, like, not having too much chocolate, because no matter what, too much of something that's like decadent could be not good for you. And that really also helps kind of minimizing the serving. And then for people that are losing weight, I'm sure you get a lot of emails, right, from people saying satisfies the craving, and then and I'm losing weight because I don't have to have too much.
Yeah, and I think that we made this snack as a snack for your afternoon to satisfy that craving. So if we give you too much, then we're going a little bit more than we say we want to do, right? Our goal is simply to satisfy that craving, keep you full for a little bit, and get you on with your day. It's to make you feel good in your afternoon. It's not to take you, to take away a meal of yours. That's not the goal. And I think that that's where a lot of protein bars, in my opinion, they overwhelm, and there's nausea, there's stomach pains, and I think that that's the problem. And I don't know, for us, that was our goal. So say what you know what I always say to people? Say what you're going to do and do it. It's like politicians. They say something, they don't do it most of the time. You as a business have an opportunity to say what you're going to do and deliver on what you're saying from a quality perspective, from a product perspective, from a marketing perspective. And I promise you, people, consumers will come to you and want to be part of your business, part of your journey, buy your product and support you and become a fan.
Yep, exactly. I know you got to go in a couple minutes here,
Yeah,
but
is there any questions that we have to answer or anything like that? But
yeah, I think, well, do you have, if you can go a couple minutes over, we have the prize we're going to give out, and we need to have you ask. Can you go a couple minutes over?
Oh, 4 more minutes. Cool.
4 more minutes. Okay. All right. Well, let's do this. So we're definitely going to have a part 4 here. We're going to bring you back on.
Yeah, well, we have to. I have to give you updates on the business and everything what's going on, the good, the bad, the ugly.
Absolutely. And Wade too. He's not even
yeah.
here. So he's on the plane, but not on the CPG vibes plane. All right. So let's go into stuff. That was a terrible joke. I was just pulled it out of my ass. All right. So let's go into stuff we love. I'm just going to make this really, really brief here. I went to Naturally San Diego yesterday. I'm sure you've seen the post from Ari Raz and all the board members. Very impressive event. You know, we were demoing our Genius shots, but I got this. I know that Mike Fata has invested in them, which is part of the reason I'm showing this. And Mike Fata, as you know, if those that don't know, he's an investor in Midday Squares. He's an advisor, right, to Midday Squares,
and a very good friend.
And a very good friend. And he started Manitoba Harvest, the hemp seeds, and had 2 9-figure exits. Go to his LinkedIn. You can see the whole story. Plant protein with mushrooms. It's a new thing that, at least to me, I put it in my tumbler, shook it, drank it before my run today. Absolutely fantastic and delicious. And then Trilogy kombucha. So do you have any brands you want to mention you've had without nuts lately? Because you're allergic to nuts.
Yeah, you know, I have to be very careful with my products because of nuts and peanuts. A lot of great products have nuts. But I think from another style brand, it's technically a consumer product, is Funko Pop toys. I collect them. And
the heads. I
bought some this week. So I'm fired up about that. And also, I'm a huge fan, and this is a large company, of Nike. And Nike, the swag that they create in terms of their clothing, even though they're an athletic brand, and the storytelling that they do is just inspiring to Midday Squares as a company. So, those 2 companies.
Cool. I want to mention too that a really good Netflix show, and I'm just going off and not food and beverage, but it's called Super Pumped. It just came out on Netflix, I think 2 days ago, and it has Joseph Gordon-Levitt, you know, the famous actor, and he plays Travis Kalanick, I think I pronounce his name, the ex-CEO of Uber. So it's a story of Uber and how they started, how they fought San Francisco, how they fought Lyft. Dramatized, obviously, but really, really good. You know, and again, he wasn't the most ethical person, but his energy when he spoke to get people on board reminded me of you.
Yes, let's go,
part,
baby. Woo!
The freaking Midday Squares in an Uber, dude. That'd be a fucking partnership right there.
That'd be fucking great.
Yeah. So, all right.
Call me.
Yeah. You never know, man. We say it on here. You go into an Uber, the driver gives you a Midday Squares. Do you want one? Are you hungry? Go on for the ride. Here's a cord to charge your phone, a water bottle, and a Midday Squares. All right.
That's combo.
Yes, I know we're out of time. Let's just do, if you have 1 more minute, we're just going to give away our prize here. So we have our permanent sponsor, which is V-Driven. They're a CPG partner for emerging purpose-driven brands. They help you with trade deductions, accounting, master sales. They have connections with all the buyers. And Luke Abbott, awesome CEO and founder of V-Driven, serial entrepreneur. Make sure to reach out to him. It's vdriven.com if you want to go. And actually just email him directly and have a consultation meeting with him. And then let's give out the prize. I'm rushing because I know you're out of time. So the prize is going to be, I'm switching over here. We're going to have Origo Brands, right? They have amazing Hispanic food, super high quality. They're like the Midday Squares of Hispanic gourmet, I would say. Custom made, delicious, agave nectar, a couple other things. So they're giving away a variety pack of basically artisanally made agave nectar, right? Straight from the source. So, you know how it goes, Jake, how it works. Ask a question, something you mentioned. And if someone guesses it right, they will be the winner. And then you're off on your way.
How many months did it take for us at Midday Squares to get through our UPC code change?
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Probably too many months. That's what it felt like.
Yeah. But I mentioned a number, so I want to see if anybody knows.
All right. So how many months did it take for Midday Squares to get through the UPC change issue?
which was 2 square to 1 square price increase. And what I mean by get through it is to get back onto the positive side of seeing it worked out, that it actually made sense.
Right. And that's where like it was not scannable and all that, right? That whole thing. All right. So any of these right? We have, let's see. We have a lot of 8s. We have 12. We have 6.
8. Who said 8?
Okay. The first 8 was Lisa Petty with Cowgal Freight.
Lisa Petty got it, baby. Congratulations.
Yeah. So make sure to email us cpgvibes100@gmail.com. We will connect you with David Cisneros, the CEO of Origo Brands. And I got to say, too, dude, this is cool. Got Vito on from Air
I
One.
love Vito. I love Vito. Vito's a good guy. He took a chance on Midday Squares early on, and I want to shout him out. And Air One was our first U.S. retailer ever in the United States. So we're big fans, and whenever we're in LA, we go visit. And then also I saw Gavin. Gavin's on here too. He took a chance on us too early on. So I appreciate seeing some of the people here that believe in your brand, because those are the people that make everything happen in the end of the day. And you never forget those people.
Absolutely. And I'm your head of merchandising just for Air One when I go in there.
Make it sexy, because that's a sexy place.
It is very, very sexy. And they just opened a new one in Pasadena for those that don't know. So we went up there 2 days after it opened. Beautiful store, Vito. So well done. Your team did a great job setting it up. And I went there and bought some hot food and a Midday Squares. So that's a complete meal. That's a complete meal right there.
That's complete. Okay, I love you all. Alex, thanks for having me. Wade, we miss you. CPG vibes for life, and let's keep rocking. Momentum, baby, momentum. Woo!
What it's all about. All right, buddy. All right, thanks for joining us. All right, safe travels.
Bye.
Take care. All right, so that is episode 88 of CPG Vibes with Jake Karls, co-founder, and also the Rainmaker of Midday Squares. Make sure to go to middaysquares.com if you'd like to buy their product online. So we will be back next week. Wade will be joining us. We'll be back on the show. Just today, he missed the show because he was traveling. And it looks like next week we're going to have on, I'm missing his last name, but it's Quentin with Equity. And that's the Equity. Has an amazing story. And he launched in Sprouts, and he has a lot of videos on LinkedIn about launching in Sprouts. And I think he also got an investment from, I believe, Gwyneth Paltrow or someone, a celebrity, invested in Equity. So we'll get more into that. So that'll be next week at 2:30, 5:30 Eastern. And then we're having our sponsor next week, which is Genuine Ginger, a social media agency. So again, thanks to our sponsor this week. And also, so sponsor this week, Origo Brands, David Cisneros, and thank you again for sponsoring. So we'll see you next week for episode 89 of CPG Vibes. Everyone have a wonderful and safe weekend. Take care.